Well, I'm here with Majid Al Ansari, writer and director of The Vial. How's it going today?
Good, good. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. So I just saw a strange, crazy horror movie called The Vial. Where did this movie come from? It says you got the story by credit, and then you have a co-writer on this. What's the writing process like on this, and how did that develop?
Yeah, no. So it was the subject matter is something I grew up with in our community. We've seen it happens. It used to happen more often than it happens today, and but I just didn't know the right for years. For 10 years, I didn't know what was the right perspective or the right angle that I could tackle this subject matter. So up until end of 2020, where a spark happened, and I really started writing, put the outline of it down, and then I went to Johnny and through the conversation we've had, or the premise down, and then with Johnny, we put out an outline, and then slowly we started developing the script together, which essentially was eventually went to Spooky. They read it, they loved it. Steven came on board, and Roy, and we started developing with the producers, and then 2023 we started shooting it. But yeah.
So what was kind of some of the challenges putting this movie together?
Just like any other movie,
The,
it's
the
always hard
movie
to make a movie.
itself is the
The
challenge.
movie tough. I mean, it took 4 years. It took from just putting the premise down on the paper until today. It's almost 4 years. Every movie you make, whether it's just so hard to get up and running and to get it right. But at the end of the day, I'll always say that the longer it takes, sometimes it takes long because it's the right time for you, right? And just the process of developing it. But I think one of the most challenging part of this film was the post production for me personally, is because with my first film, I knew exactly I would shortlist it. I'd go in, I would know how I'm editing the movie, right? I'm going in on the set, I would know it. But with this movie, I thought I could take that same approach that I did with my first, but it backfired on me. I mean, the movie wasn't speaking to me like it didn't. And until I reached out to one of my good directing friends and asked him for help, and he gave me an advice. He's like, hey, instead of you fighting to go down and really shaping it, why don't you just cut it down to 85 minutes? Just strip it down and then start building it back up. And that's one of the things. That's when I started doing that. I realized what this movie needs is for it to speak to you instead of you enforcing your agenda and your ideas into the movie itself. So there was a lot of scenes that I just kind of took out like organically. It just went out because it just didn't fit. And Amani's journey is the main subject matter that you should follow, and nothing else matters. And that process, it really took me around almost 6 months to get to that idea of, all right, hey, it took me 6 months of fighting with the movie until the movie started speaking to me and said, all right, this is what this movie needs. And it was then from there, it was a beautiful process. It was challenging, and I love challenges. Of course, you learn and you grow, and that's something that I really enjoyed in this movie.
That sounds like an unintentional boon because, like, you write the movie, it's like, oh yeah, let's get this done right away, and then
Yeah.
that extra time was like, oh wait, we can make this better. Holy
True.
crap!
Yes, yes. And it's not even it's making it better. And sometimes it's like because your ideas you could enforce things. Because I have a certain style. Like my first one was so much more fun. It was pure genre. This one has a subject matter which is a bit different. I co-wrote it, so it was a bit different. It was a bit more personal. And I think I was fighting with all of these elements in comparison to my first one, which I didn't write. My first one, Lane and Ruckus Sky, they did a great job writing that script, which I got from the blacklist. With this, it's something I developed from scratch. So, but it's something. I feel like what I've learned from this is that the more challenging the movie is, the more you learn, and the more you grow. And this definitely was a challenge to me, and I loved it, and I grew as a filmmaker, I feel.
And this one's got like I don't know if dream logic is the exact term for it, but like, the movie kind of follows a narrative until it doesn't. And then there's kind of things that happen to characters like, is this real? Is this not? But like, when you're writing that or developing that, like, what does that process come in of like as far as the people making the movie, so everyone's on the same page, it's like what's real and what's not from behind
Yeah,
the perspective of behind the scenes.
yeah. So I think the first thing we did with the movie is we made a decision we have to be as real as possible. We had to be as authentic to the region and to our story as possible. And from the research, I've sat down with a lot of family members, women, wives, sisters, brothers, husbands that went through this scenario of polygamy and so on and so forth. And a lot of it was that confusion. There was, especially from a woman's perspective, and a lot of the women I spoke to, and even the actress. So there is that sense of confusion that you just don't understand what's going on. And that's where Wamani's journey is. And I wanted to represent that in the movie. And hence why things sometimes just go off the rails and come back. But it was pretty much inspired by But what Badur told me that when she went through, or her sister went through, or whoever that part of her family that went through it, is, or the people I've spoken to, is what they go through is that this thing doesn't make sense. This, like how could this ultimate betrayal that happened to them as a family, to the daughter and the mother, it just puts them in a position, in a box where they just don't know who they are anymore. Right, from years of living with each other, and then that ultimate betrayal happens, and that doesn't necessarily happen in only the Arab world, but that could happen in the Eastern world. Which I just found out recently. I have one of my friends who's Chinese, that polygamy was present back in like 100 years ago, 150 years ago there. So they went through it. There's a generation of the Chinese population that went through it, but also in the West, you could say like a mistress, like, there's a relationship where you think your father is, the right guy, the perfect guy, and then he passes away, and then someone else comes in, and you realize that he has other kids and all the time. So that's the ultimate betrayal. I think that's the relatability of this film, where we feel that it could resonate with more than just my region, and it could really expand.
Yeah. I don't know how much we can talk about this, but there's a really fantastic line in this, and I'm going to butcher the hell out of it, but it's what would you be without me? I'll
Yes.
be everything I could be without you.
Yes.
And that cut deep. Like, where'd that come from? Because
Dude,
when I saw that line, the way that it was delivered, I just got goosebumps on my.
Oh no, thanks, man. I'm so glad. Great question, and I'm so glad that it resonated with you. This is something that I remember that line was changed until the day of the shooting. I mean, that line was changing up until we knew what the message was, but we just didn't know how to word it. And I remember we were huddling up, like it's me, Badur, who plays also the other wife in the movie. Like we're just sitting down with the producers, we're scratching our heads, like, hey, how could we really like give that punch? We knew what we wanted to say, we didn't know how to do it. But we wanted something that would reflect back to her finding her identity, and that's the journey of her in the movie. Finding her voice back again before Khalid, who she was before Khalid. She's going to go back to that. And she goes from finding what the priority of her life is, which is her daughter, and not fighting to get this man, to be with this man, right? And yeah, that was a line that we found like we really cracked. Honestly, like I think 10 minutes before Sajid, like we had the line, but it wasn't written that way. It was written a different way. And it just took us up to 10 minutes before we rolled the camera to figure out that last line.
I'm wondering what the original line was like. Screw you. No,
yeah, it was similar to that. It's like, yeah, it's like similar to, but I knew I wanted something that hey, I found my independence, right? I found myself, I found my voice. That was, I remember, like even I had a small like note under it, like on all the scripts. I'm like, if we find a better line that represents this, we changing it. So everyone that read on the day knew that I am open to finding a better way of saying that. And then we're lucky, and we found it like 10 minutes before we shot. 10 minutes before we shot that moment. And it is a powerful moment. And it's just us, that kind of sometimes reminds me, like sometimes you just need to push, that you keep on pushing, and sometimes it's just that last couple of minutes that when it's tense and you're under pressure, that's like the best ideas come out. And
yeah, it all comes back down to the first version isn't always the best. Like the more you got chance to let it develop. And in that case, it's right before you're about to shoot it. So
yeah, one of the most important lines in the movie.
Yeah. Imagine how good this movie would be if you're still making it in 20.
I'm ready to move on.
But I guess at that point, though, that brings me back to, when do you know something's done? Like, obviously, art can never be done, but at some point, you just gotta go, this is what we got. Let's just do it.
I mean, Erik, you're saying it so right. Like, I am like the producers, like one of my producers, like he knows my personality. I'm never finished. I could still re-edit the movie. So there's a moment where they're like, oh, you have a deadline, and that's it. In our case, it was Fantastic Fest, to be honest with you, a bit before it. But when we knew that we're into Fantastic, that was that. All right.
Yeah.
Very much.
Well, so this is premiering Fantastic Fest. Are there any plans for this afterwards, or because I've never been to Fantastic Fest, but what I know of the film festivals is that you put the film out there, someone buys it, and then so before the film festival, you don't really know what it's going to do. But is that the case with this, or?
Yeah, no, we're going Fantastic Fest, and then we're jumping into Sitges Film Festival, and then we're going to go BFI London Film Festival. So we're doing the festival run first, and regionally we're releasing it end of October, but internationally we still don't know where it lands.
Are all film festivals created equal? Because from what I understand is you make a movie and you bring it to a film festival, and then producers or studios are there and they either buy it or they don't. So if you have a bunch of different film festivals lined up and someone buys it at the first one that you go to, do you have to cancel the other two, or like
No,
how
no, no.
does that work?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's always good to be in the festivals, especially something like Fantastic and Stitches for horror and for the genre. It's always great to be there. I mean, Fantastic, my first film, had the world premiere also 10 years ago in Fantastic. I didn't understand it back then. I was 26 years old when I did my first film. But what I realized after doing the festival, I was like, okay, I get this. And for me as a filmmaker, to be honest with you, to be in an environment where they love the genre and they understand the genre, even whether you hate the movie or love the movie, just to be around people that you could communicate with. It's rare to find that in one spot with that many people that really have that love for the genre. And that's why you want to hear opinions. That's when you want to hear people's thoughts and see if you did something good or bad or how to better yourself. And I think Fantastic Fest is one of my favorite film festivals that I've been to.
Yeah, I think Fantastic Fest and Stages in particular they seem
genre.
to curate the movies pretty good. And I don't know how they do it, but the movies that tend to play there end up being really good.
Yeah. No, yeah. I was lucky. I'm lucky this year with the file. So to have both, I'm very blessed.
Yeah. Have you had any I don't know how many people have seen this, but what kind of reaction have you had to this so far?
And not a lot of people have watched it yet. We've done like the local screenings. We've done a test screening early on in the rough cut. It was really good. With editing the movie, I wanted there was a moment like 8 months in. I wanted to see how people would respond to it. And it wasn't like a finished cut or anything. And I know like locally it works because I'm hitting so close to home. I mean, there's certain lines in the movie that like you hear them crackling up. I'm being nervous, like because the guys next to his wife's looking at him straight, like looking at him, and they're like, "Hey, if you think that, I'm gonna crush you right now." So to be in that, like locally, to be in that environment, and you're sitting there, and I'm just watching. It was really good. And now that I finished it, I'm really looking forward to the local screenings that we're gonna have. But for me, internationally, it's gonna be my first. I don't know how the West or the East will respond to it. People that are not from the culture, from the Arab culture, from the regional culture. But that's one thing I'm excited is I wanted to open a window to that part of our culture that someone could watch and get, because this is not a lot of movies talks about polygamy, but I also did it not in a sense of making it fun, making it horror, making it thriller, but by being real with the feelings of what the characters go through in this scenario.
Yeah, I think from my perspective as someone that's not part of that, just watching it, I just kind of roll with it. I see the thing, I'm like, oh, this is what's going to happen, and then they act a certain way. I'm like, oh, okay. Like the context of the movie tells me, oh, this is something else. Okay, I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah. And then and a lot of it was deliberate. Like, there was, one of the films I loved watching while making this was Na Hong Jin, The Wailing. I don't know if you've ever had the chance to watch it. I highly recommend that movie. It's a South Korean film, incredible movie, but it was one of those films where we just don't. You think that it's going this way, it goes that way, and then it goes that way, and then you think it's going to go that way, and then it goes back to the way you thought in the beginning, and you start questioning every single decision you start making. And funny enough, and the reason why that related to me very closely with this film is the more I did research and I spoke to people that went through it, that is the feeling that they get. The first 6, 7, 8 months of it happening to them is that not knowing who you are and not knowing your state of mind and not knowing where your direction is. Well, what's the what's the right decision and what's a bad decision? Should I divorce him? Should I not? Should I be with him? Should I not? Should I be with the kids? Sacrifice my life for the kids? All these questions that are so confusing, and I kind of wanted to bring that confusion into this film, but structured in a way where you could follow the story and the plot.
Yeah. And I guess just to bring up the polygamy part, because I'm familiar with what polygamy is, but I'm not part of that culture. But like, what's some things that maybe you couldn't put in the movie that someone like myself wouldn't quite understand, that kind of give more context to what we're seeing in the movie?
Yeah. And so one of the things I wanted to do early on, as far as polygamy goes, I didn't want to, and that's why it took me a long time to really make the movie and find an angle, is because I'm not against polygamy. This is a movie not against polygamy, because listen, if you have a choice, you as a couple have a choice, and you make the decision together, fine, great. But when we don't have the choice, which is in the case of our characters, that's when it starts becoming unfair. That's when there's no consent, and there's this that kind of playing with the rules and that happens here that I didn't feel that was fair to a character like Amani, right? And this happens not as often today as it used to be, but back in the days it used to happen way more. So there are lines in the movie that I just wanted to make sure that, for example, and I'm sure when you're watching it, you clocked it, when the husband says to her, "Is like, hey, listen, you're lucky that I didn't do this behind your back. I came to you. I'm not like the other guys." I'm better than the other guys because I didn't go behind your back. And I came to that line. I remember it was a conversation I had with the producers. I'm like, hey, do you think I'm going to alienate audiences? Because I think they could see it in a perspective, or you could watch it. If you don't know the culture, you can watch from perspective. I'm just trying to make the man look bad, right? But here, this is something we hear constantly. And it's not, like, it could be a joke. Like, and I have friends that are married, happily married, but just as a joke, like they'll do the banter. They will be like, you know what? Hey, if we don't do this, I'm going to marry someone else. Just as a joke. That's part of the culture. It's a banter thing. It's something. But then some guys actually do it. So, and some guys do feel that way. They do feel, hey, you're lucky that I came to you and I told you this. Because a lot of the other guys don't. I could die and you not knowing that I have someone else. It's like a mistress. It's, again, this also like polygamy, even though we label it as polygamy here, but it's no different than it is in the West, whether if you have a mistress, right? It's the same thing. Like, hey, you could have a mistress and you could have a couple of kids and your main family doesn't know about it. But then when you die, things will come out of the woodwork, right? It's similar kind of feeling in a way with culture here, but we just have a label on it.
So it's just like, I guess the difference between a second wife and a mistress would be whether or not it's culturally acceptable.
Yeah, but yeah, sometimes today, like a lot of, like, there are guys that do it the same way as a mistress. They just do it under the law, but not the law, but I don't know what, it's a weird thing because they treat them like mistress. Like, you never even know. There's a lot of cases where he's married to a second wife and you'll never know until the guy dies in here also. So it's similar to having a mistress because there's a right way of doing it, and that's not the right way of doing it. And listen, if it's a secret, that means you're not doing the right thing, right? Oh. You're lying. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
And that's why you're coming here. You're learning stuff. So thanks for joining us. I guess just to bring it back to filmmaking, I've seen you've done a short, you've done another feature length and a TV series. What are some of the differences you can tell us between like doing short and TV series and director? Like what kind of different skill sets do you need for each one?
Sure. Specifically, of course, the short is something you always say you do it for yourself and you're discovering your voice. That's something, it's always hard to do a short because you're independent and you do it by yourself. You're the producer, you're the writer, and you're the director, or so on and so forth, and production designer maybe sometimes, and the editor. So shorts, of course, is just about you finding your voice. And for me, feature films, and in comparison to TV, I'm not a showrunner on the TV series I've worked on. I'm a director. So I'm a director for hire on the TV series. And I do that on purpose is because I love learning from other showrunners and other directors. So that gives me an opportunity to really kind of switch up my style and have to because they're gonna dictate the look and the feel and the rhythm of the series. And you come in the second or third episode and you have to kind of follow what they've done in the first. So that for me is a beautiful challenge. It's something that really challenges me because, doing my first film, I was very set onto the way I do my movies. But doing that, it just opened the doors for me to find different techniques and different ways of storytelling and how to use the camera and so on. But when it comes to film, I feel it's always more personal. You take more time. It's more, it's not as fast paced, I'd say, as a TV series is. You sometimes want to take your time. Sometimes a lot of things you don't want to show. You want to shoot them, but then you cut them out of the edit, which in TV, no, you want to know exactly what you're shooting, especially in our region where we don't have the budgets that the guys have in the West. Here, we're like our big episode. A big budget episode is $500,000. That's the average, or $350,000 to $500,000. That's a big budget episode on a TV series, right? So we don't have that, like in the West, in the US or in the UK, you have 2 million, 4 million, 5 million, it goes up to 20 million. So with working on budgets like that, you need to be fast. You need to know exactly what you're shooting, and you can't mess around. You can't shoot extra stuff. So you have to be very efficient. So I think for me in the region, film. You get more space. You get more art from it, I guess. While TV, because of the pace we go through, usually it's much more faster, and you don't have that luxury of experimenting.
Yeah. Well, the Vile's going to premiere at Fantastic Fest, and hopefully more people will be able to see it wider when it comes out. It's a very creepy movie, very strange movie, and very good movie. So congratulations there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I already got a movie recommendation earlier from you in this interview, but we'll get another one from you. Just a movie that you think is really good and not enough people have seen.
I'll say definitely The Wailing. That's one of my ultimate favorite movies. What else I'll say? I love the Korean genre. I guess Mother from Bong Joon-ho. A lot of people actually.
Oh yes.
Memories of a Murder. A lot of people watch it. A lot of people, of course, watch Okja. And a lot of people watch, of course, Parasite. Mother is one of my favorite all-time Bong Joon-ho movies.
Yeah, what was it about Mother that kind of got you going? Obviously, it's Bong
that
Joon-ho. He's great.
It's not for me. It's just the relationship of, first of all, how crazy the plot is, and that relationship of a mother and son, something I really loved. I really freaking loved, and just seeing that, and you can see the inspiration even here. Like there's a lot of like that movie for me was. I remember watching it when I first started my career, because it was one of his early films. It's just that subject matter and that character that he chose and how she fights for her son, and then it's like a whodunit, and there's a lot into it. There's a lot that I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but it's a great film.
I don't know that you could. It's a great movie, and a great pick. But Majid, congratulations on the bio, and I wish you all this success, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, man.
All right.